I'm picturing she rolled in on the wheelchair into the room. Like, she turned the corner. She's got, like, double loaded pistols in the pockets of her robe. And her son turned around. She, like, drew him out. Did a little, like, cowboy spin.
A revolver ocelot.
Yeah, motherfucker. We're gonna take it up a few notches right now. See if y'all can keep up.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the ScruffCast. I'm Dan.
And I'm John.
And we're going to kick right into it with our question to ponder from last week. So I'll remind you guys one more time. The question is, if your country ceased to exist for whatever reason, what country would you move to and why? John, what's your answer?
So I thought long and hard about this one, and I settled on Sweden.
Sweden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice Scandinavian country. The summers would be nice. The winters would be cold, but it would be so cold that you don't have to go outside at all, and it would look really nice from inside. Okay. Since I'm just like, software developer, just inside, I got the internet. I can just work from inside.
Okay. Well,
they got good healthcare there, good education system.
Yeah, you hear lots of good things about like Sweden, Finland.
Yeah, all those Scandinavian countries, they usually have like really long life expectancies.
Yeah, they're just on it.
I figured that'd be a good choice.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Like, I could have went with the easy choice and said the United States because it's like, similar to Canada. But I was like, no, I'm taking the advantage of the opportunity. And
the thing is, too, with the States, like, we know all the different kind of parts of the States, too. Right?
Yeah.
So you can go more specific, like, oh, Florida, California, you know what I mean?
That's true. Buffalo.
We did say country, though, so.
Yeah.
Nice and broad. Yeah, and with Donald Trump there, too.
No bueno.
A little iffy,
Yeah.
Not really sure. Do you want to hear mine? Are you going to ask me back?
What's yours, Dan?
I would probably choose Poland.
Ooh, making a play for the in-laws?
Nope, because they don't listen anyway, so it doesn't matter. But the only reason I say it's because I was kind of thinking of like places I've been to that I already kind of know about, right?
That's true. You got to scout it out. I've never been to Sweden. It could be a shithole. I have no idea.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, Japan, Let's say I say that, and then I actually get there. I'm like, man, I don't really like this,
But you picked it.
I went to Poland last year. I kind of know what it's about. Yeah, I guess I would go with that. Especially over, like, Cuba or Dominican Republic or something like that.
Yeah, because you got to go there and, like, live, right?
Yeah, you can't just stay at a resort the whole time.
Yeah, there's no just constant income coming in.
Yeah, so I'd probably go with Poland.
Now,
nice country.
If the listeners wanted to write in and tell us their answer to the question to ponder each week, they can reach us at scruffcast@gmail.com. But none of them wrote in with answers this week.
Well, maybe if we remind them what our Twitter is, they can reach us there. At
Good
ScruffCast.
Thinking, Dan. At ScruffCast. Or on Instagram at The ScruffCast.
That's right. Or YouTube, search ScruffCast.
Yep. If you just jumped in on YouTube, you're looking at the funny thumbnail. I'm sure I spent a lot of time photoshopping. Give us a little thumb up. Give us a comment. Let us know.
We've got some more subscribers there. We thank those people.
Yes, coming on board. The cult of the ScruffCast keeps growing.
Moving forward. All right, John. How about you kick off our first topic of the day?
Our first article this week comes to us from globalnews.ca.
Oh.
Woman called police on black child mowing lawn. Now his business is booming. Reggie Fields, at 12 years old, is a business owner. He operates, and, this is a great name for his business here, Mr. Reggie's Lawn Cutting Service.
I do like that.
In his Cleveland, Ohio neighborhood of Maple Heights. I love that he called himself Mr. Reggie.
Yeah, he could have gone with Mr. Fields,
Yeah,
but Mr. Reggie.
At 12 years old, he's already a budding entrepreneur. Mr. Reggie.
He's like naming like a Chinese person would name his company that, They wouldn't say like, hey, they would say like Mr. John.
You mean like if they were like running into Reggie, be like, oh, Mr. Reggie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I thought you meant like
Mr. Reggie. Those are Chinese. That's the Chinese accent.
That's Asian accents. Okay. So, Mr. Reggie Mr. Reggie's Lawn Cutting Service is the name of his business. So, what was meant to be a regular day of business for Fields, a.k.a. Mr. Reggie, took an unexpected turn late last month when officers from the Maple Heights Police Department showed up. Fields and his team, his siblings and cousins, so this guy's got like a little, small business going.
Yeah.
Were cutting grass for Lucille Holt, who recorded the incident in a Facebook Live video. It turned out that Holt's neighbor called the police to complain about the children cutting grass. The children had accidentally mowed across some of the property line.
Which...
Okay, these are 12-year-old kids.
And which, first off, if the kid did that, you'd be like, nice, that's less I have to cut.
Yeah.
Now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Keep coming. No, the property line's further. You know what I mean? Get them to cut all my grass, too.
So it turned out that Holt's neighbor called the police to complain about children cutting grass because they accidentally mowed across some of the property line. And this is a quote here. All young people ain't out here doing wrong, Holt says in the video, which is titled, "This is ridiculous." So she actually recorded a video of them mowing the lawn.
Mm-hmm. And this woman calling the cops.
Yeah, and this woman calling the cops. And she actually had an interview with the New York Times, so that I guess the story went, pretty viral, if you will. And she later explained she was outraged because it was clearly a racially charged incident. So this neighbor, no bueno. Okay. It's not just about cutting the grass. If they would have been 4 white children, the police would not have been called, she said. A lot of it is racially motivated. So this woman putting her neighbor on blast.
Yeah, Mr. Reggie and his crew are of African-American descent. Obviously, we're reading the article that people can't see, so we're letting them know.
Well, I don't know, but we don't see the color here on the ScruffCast.
No, we don't. Not at all.
We don't. He's just Mr. Reggie, a little budding entrepreneur. So, they're cutting Mrs. Holt's grass, and it goes slightly over onto this racist lady's property line, so she calls the police. Like, is that even a charge? Like, they're cutting my grass. It's like free landscaping, right?
Yeah,
the kids are 12.
And we've talked about this before. Like, we've had articles before. It's like people calling the police for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
And this is one of those reasons. And this goes back almost like another story that we talked about with the guy checking out the house as a real estate investment, the black guy.
Yeah, and
the neighbor called the police on them. The neighbor wanted him to get out of there.
But this is the same thing where it's like, in that story, it was a neighbor called the police because they're like, oh, he's checking out this property, when it wasn't even this lady's property. She was just being nosy.
Yeah.
In this case, they're cutting someone else's grass. They slightly went over the property line, I guess, right?
Yeah,
but this woman's just, I don't know, just kind of being a bitch. So there's actually a quote from Mr. Reggie here. When he was interviewed by a CNN affiliate, like news station, so the story must have been pretty big. So Mr. Reggie said, "They said I was cutting their grass. I didn't know it. I was like, that's a shame. I didn't know." Like, he's 12 years old.
He's 12 years old. He doesn't know where property lines are.
Right? So Mr. Reggie's mom, Brandy, told the news channel that Mr. Reggie started his business because he was bored and wanted money to buy candy. The boy, who is heading into grade 7 in the fall, will have a lot more candy money now. People who caught a hold of his story have been reaching out to him and asking him to cut their grass. And a GoFundMe page was started, which reached nearly $46,000 in 4 days. That's a lot of candy for Mr. Reggie.
That is a lot.
So the police department also reached out to him. They posted for photos with him praising his work and forwarded many messages of support they've received on his behalf. And he took a photo with the police shared online. Maybe we'll tweet it out from our Twitter account. There's like a nice little feel-good story, kind of crazy, bitchy lady living next door.
There's not
trying to bring Mr.
Like
Reggie
a lot
down.
of these stories go the opposite way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of these where people are getting shot for no reason by cops, kind of thing.
Yeah, showing up like, "Whoa, what are you doing with that lawnmower?"
Yeah, exactly. So this is nice that it's going the other way.
Yeah. I just love that he called himself Mr. Reggie.
That's
like in the article, it never referred to him as Mr. Reggie anymore, but I just kept subbing that in.
It kept saying
just so the listeners know.
Yeah. Mr. Reggie.
Yeah.
Mr. Reggie's lawn cutting service.
Like at 12 years old, if I'm bored and I want to, have more money to buy candy, I'm not like recruiting a crew and going mowing lawns. What were we doing at 12 years old?
Asking our parents for money for candy.
Mom, I need to buy some Tootsie Rolls.
Mom, the ice cream truck's here. Quickly.
And run after it. I'm too fast to reach
driving
it.
away. So the GoFundMe page raised $46,000 for this kid.
Which is pretty insane.
That's insane. Like, I guess he gets to keep that.
I don't see why not. It's like donations.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, hey, here you go, Mr.
That's
Reggie.
incredible.
Boom, there you go. That's a good portion of his college paid for.
Yeah.
Not bad, not bad. And then when he's, give it 5-6 years going out on dates, right? He's like, "Hey, I'm Mr. Reggie."
I'm
They're like, "You're Mr. Reggie?
I am the Mr.
The
Reggie.
local Maple Heights legend, Mr. Reggie? That's me."
That is nice. That's a nice feel-good story, that one.
That was. But
It's not all doom and gloom on the ScruffCast,
it's not all doom and gloom, but
it is.
we never have two happy stories in a row.
That's right.
I don't think we ever do. So moving on to another story related to racism here. Dunkin' Donuts faces backlash for racist sign. So a Dunkin' Donuts in Baltimore, Maryland faces backlash from customers after placing a small red sign on the counter promising a free pastry and coffee if they snitch on employees speaking in any language other than English.
So their own employees.
Their own employees. So Dunkin' Donuts put this sign out telling customers, hey, if you see these people speaking a language that's not English, snitch on them. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a free coffee and pastry. So,
all right.
The sign at the Dunkin' Donuts on West 41st Street in Baltimore, Maryland read, if you hear any of our staff shouting in a language other than English is bolded in all caps here, please call, and then it had the phone number, immediately with the name of the employee to receive a coupon for a free coffee and a pastry.
Now, hold on. What if they're just speaking normally in a different language?
Yeah, like
is that okay? Does it have to be shouting?
Like, I guess so. Like, maybe they had a problem with employees shouting, right?
Yeah.
In another language, because like it's very specific, another language and shouting.
Okay.
So naturally, people were outraged and complaining. Like they were even offering a reward, which is absurd. So I wonder what the actual rate of people calling in and snitching on employees' words. Like were they giving out free pastries? Like imagine you're working there, and you're shouting, I don't know, about something in another language. And then they call, and you just see the guy, and he's got the phone up, and you're like, "Oh boy, no, right?"
And then you're ordered to give him a free coffee.
Yeah, then you have to give him the free coffee and
damn
pastry.
It, I'd spit in that pastry.
Yeah, I'd be mad. So, according to Dunkin' Donuts corporate spokesperson Lindsay Cronin, the sign was put up by the location's general manager based on her own personal judgment. So, like Dunkin' Donuts corporate is just like putting this woman out to pasture here. They're like, hey, this was this woman's own judgment. She's like franchisee. It's not us. And then there's a tweet here related to the story, and somebody brought up the point you said where they said, oh, yeah. But they're allowed to whisper in another language. So there's a good quote here. They're paid to work in Dunkin' Donuts and serve people, and they've only been courteous to me, and even if they weren't, that's no reason to be able to tell them they shouldn't speak in the native language or any other language they want. A quote directly from a customer. It's horrible. And like I said, I guess it's kind of expected in this climate. Horrible things like that, one customer added. While another said, they're kind and courteous and do their job. Even if they weren't courteous, that's no reason not to speak in their native language or any language they want to. So people seem pretty, on the side of the customer here. Or sorry, on the side of the employees.
The employees,
here.
yeah.
So that was the gist of the story. So what I want to get into is, what do you think? Like, should the business be allowed to have this sort of policy?
I suppose so. Like, the person who runs a place should be allowed to kind of make that rule, right?
Maybe it's a little iffy because it's a Dunkin' Donuts, like a large chain, right?
Yeah,
but imagine it was like a small
that
coffee shop, right? You ran your own coffee shop
or
something. Should you be allowed?
I mean, it's an English-speaking country,
Yeah.
And like where I work too, we kind of no, we didn't run into this problem. Like it wasn't that bad, but there was a few Polish people who worked there. And they would kind of talk and it's like a retail store. I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And they would kind of talk amongst themselves in Polish, which like none of the other employees can understand or customers can understand, whatever, right? So that was kind of like, that pissed me off a little bit before. Like now, like I see it a little differently. I wouldn't care that much. But I remember at the time it kind of like bothering me a bit, right? Like, hey, they all speak English. It's not like they couldn't speak English. They all did, right?
Yeah.
But they just, blah, 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 talk to each other in a different language. I remember thinking, like, it kind of pissed me off a little bit. It's like a little like rude. Ignorant. And it's funny because my fiance, who worked there, is Polish as well, and she speaks it. And so these people would talk to her, and she would respond in English.
She doesn't want any part of their game.
Because she doesn't like, okay, you can speak to me in Polish, but I'm going to respond to you in English. kind of thing, right? That's the way she kind of would always go about it. But I mean, I don't know. Like, can you imagine this guy owns his Dunkin' Donuts in Brampton?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, we got some Brampton listeners, too. They know.
He would be running out of money. There'd be no pastries or coffee left.
Oh, man, I'd be getting a free coffee bagel every morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't
But,
know.
like, this must have been a pretty big issue for him to put up a sign and say, call immediately.
I feel like there's probably a little more to this story.
I feel like there must have been a specific incident that, like, triggered this whole chain of events.
Yeah.
Like, there must have been.
Yeah. Maybe he's gotten customer complaints.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe.
From people saying, like, hey, these people are yelling at each other in a different language. I don't really know what's going on. I don't know if they're talking about me or whatever. And he can't pinpoint who it is. So he just puts this out there. Hey, if anybody lets me know who it is, we get a free coffee.
That's true.
This person's just trying to figure out who it is. You know?
The thing is, like, speaking in another language gets directly tied to, like, you know, the idea of, like, it being a racist thing.
Yeah, well, it's like, not necessarily, but it's like, you just want everybody to understand everybody. But, like, you know what? I think if someone comes up to the counter and, like, you know what language they speak and it's a different language, why not speak to them in that language? I know this is a kind of different situation than what's going on in this article, but how do you feel about that, you know? Like, if... I'm going to go back to Brampton here because,
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is. But let's say two Indian people, you know, an Indian person behind the counter, an Indian person being served. That person walks up, starts speaking Indian. You know what I mean?
And, like, if you're the person working there,
Yeah.
how would you feel? I'd feel like, well, what? That's
But let's
almost
say you
racist.
could also speak Indian.
But, like, that's almost racist in and of itself. Like, you're just assuming I can speak
Oh,
the language, right?
You're outrageous. That was an outrageous comment.
I'm outrageous.
You belong on Twitter with all those people.
I'm not outrageous.
No, but like, think about it though, because like I'm only using Brampton because it's like it's a very Indian like area,
Yeah.
right? But like, go anywhere in Toronto, there's different pockets, right? There's a Portuguese area, whatever, right? You go into the Portuguese bakery, and you can speak Portuguese to them, blah, 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 but you can also speak English to them. It's kind of whatever, right?
Like, if I was working there, I don't know. I'd almost feel like kind of side with like the approach your fiance has, where like almost you feel uncomfortable, right? It's like you have this exclusive thing going on with this customer or something. Like, imagine you're standing behind that person in line.
Yeah, okay,
right. You're kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? How do I know they're not like shit talking? Like, oh, get a load of the schnoz on the guy behind you.
Exactly.
He's got a huge nose.
It's probably the same thing for the general manager of the store, right? He doesn't want his employees talking like that, right? He just wants them to be kind of, you know, everybody to understand them.
Yeah, like,
so
it
no
makes, maybe just makes the other customers feel uncomfortable. And that doesn't necessarily mean it like has anything to do with like race or anything like that, right? Just because it would make you uncomfortable if people around you are speaking different languages doesn't mean you're racist.
And like,
it's because you don't understand what's going on. It's like they have like you know, these code words going back and forth. You're like, what are they talking about?
And that's the thing, like for us, like where we grew up, and just in Canada itself, it's multicultural.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean, you go into any store, you go into I don't know a Chinese restaurant, you know what I mean? They're going to be speaking Mandarin or whatever to each other. Like, it just is what it is, and like, it doesn't bother us. We like, you know, I don't care. But to other people, it might, right? People who aren't used to it doesn't mean they're racists.
That is true. I don't know what the demographics are like in Baltimore. Right?
I don't know either. But
must have been a big enough issue to put up this sign. I feel like though, if you were like running your own independent business, like I don't know, I guess it's like you're free to enact whatever policies you want.
Do
just
whatever
like
you want, yeah.
Just like the employees would be free to find another job if they didn't like working there, right?
You know what? There's a grocery store in like the GTA here called Starsky.
Yeah, I've heard of this. It's Polish, isn't it?
I think it's like Eastern European.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like I don't know. There's like 3 or 4 locations, but anyway, on their name tags there, it also says at the bottom like speaks, and it shows what language they speak. So like
that's an interesting
English,
idea.
Polish, whatever it is, right? Yeah, so it's like you can kind of walk up and see what they speak, and then you can speak to them in that language. I thought like, oh, that's a pretty good idea.
I think that is a good idea, especially because, like
I feel
you
like
said,
that's like much more inclusive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially because
Much
like,
better
the idea,
customer service.
The idea you said that there's all these different little pockets of communities, right? Like think about like your grandmother, right? Only speaks Portuguese, right?
Yeah.
If she went to like somewhere and it said like, oh, I speak English, Portuguese, you're gonna be like, oh, perfect, I can speak. This
Exactly.
Portuguese.
I can speak to this person,
right?
No problem. Yeah. Instead of having to try to get by in a language you don't know, right?
Yeah. Right, because like sometimes, people who are like learning English as another language, right? Even if they can speak English like perfectly fine, they might be like, a little self-conscious, right? Might have an accent and stuff. So they'd much rather speak in like whatever their native language is, right?
Yeah, which is fair.
Which you could make that argument for the people, working at the Dunkin' Donuts in this story, but
yeah, for sure.
I feel like there's something being left out.
But that's always this kind of crap, though, eh?
Yeah,
it's like there's always they only tell you what they want you to hear.
Oh yeah, like
their angle. That's it.
There could have been a perfect, explanation for all this that happened in an article last week, but like, no, Sputnik News isn't telling you about that one.
No,
which sounds like a little bit of a shady news source, but only the best on the ScruffCast. All right, shall we move on?
We shall.
All right, the next article. The U.S. Post getting in a little bit of trouble. It's not just Dunkin' Donuts. It's the U.S. Post, too.
Oh.
They got their own issues to deal with.
They sure do.
So U.S. Post must pay $3.5 million for wrong Lady Liberty on stamp. The Postal Service used the image of sculptor Robert Davidson's Las Vegas replica of the Statue of Liberty on a 2010 stamp design instead of the New York original.
Yeah, let's break this down here.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize there was a difference. I thought it was an exact kind of replica.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. There is a difference.
Apparently. Mr. Davidson called his replica sexier, and a judge ruled that the statues were indeed unmistakably different. Now, there's a side-by-side shot of the two statues in this article, which this I should definitely tweet from our Twitter account, @ScruffCast. And yeah, you could see the difference, but that's just because one looks newer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like
one was built
unmistakably
early
different.
1900s or late 1800s or something
like that?
Whatever
it was. A long time ago.
It was built by the French too, right? So
yeah, it was like a gift. Yeah,
I think the statue, if you took off that robe on the Statue of Liberty, it probably has hairy armpits.
So they got this like massive fine lobbied against them. So the Postal Service has not commented yet on the verdict here. But like the judge ruled like, oh, they got to pay.
Yeah.
So in his original 2013 complaint, so I guess they made this stamp with the wrong design, 2010. It took this artist who, loves the Statue of Liberty so much, 3 years to find out about this.
Yeah.
And then he put in a formal complaint. So according to Mr. Davidson, the sculptor, his work gave the American icon a more fresh-faced, sultry, and even sexier look. So the federal judge, just at the end of last month, June, ruled that he was entitled to a share of the United States Postal Service's earnings from the stamp. Which, first off, $3.5 million is a portion of the earnings they made off of this one stamp. They must be selling a lot of goddamn stamps.
Oh, I know. And like this is the crazy thing. So they sold 4.9 billion stamps just of this stamp. You know what I mean? Just of this one particular Statue of Liberty stamp.
Yeah.
Which worked out to $70 million.
Over the course of only 4 years, because they retired it in 2014. That is insane.
$70 million just on one stamp.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of besides the point.
I gotta become a stamp designer.
Yeah.
I wonder how much it would cost to get an official ScruffCast stamp.
We can look into it.
We can.
Yeah.
Hit us up, scruffcast@gmail.com. Give us your designs. So, according to court documents, yes, $70 million. So during the lawsuit, United States Postal Service claimed Mr. Davidson's replica was too similar to the original in New York Harbor and that the government's use copied nothing original. But Mr. Davidson said he did look at the images of the original while formulating the face of the Vegas statue. Duh. It's a replica.
Yeah, he would.
Right?
I hope he looked at that.
But he decided the replica needed a little more modern, a little more contemporary face, definitely more feminine, to be, in quotes here, more appropriate for Las Vegas. Which, this guy kind of sounds like he's a little like up his own ass.
Oh yeah,
a little bit,
Well, he's building statues like.
But it's just a replica statue.
Yeah.
It's like he just copied the original and tweaked the face a bit.
But this was probably a big deal when this statue was built. It's like we need someone to build a replica statue. And he got the job, you know what I mean? He's feeling pretty good about himself.
I guess so. I imagine you get paid like a hefty commission, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like the statue's pretty good size.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. So, take this with a grain of salt here, because he said he wanted the statue to be a little sexier and more sultry.
Mm-hmm.
But according to Mr. Davidson, he also testified he used an image of his mother-in-law as reference while sculpting the statue's face. So, Mrs. Davidson, you gotta come get your man. You gotta ask him some questions.
He's just trying to gain some brownie points there.
Yeah, honestly. No, I was trying to make it like very sexy. I used my mother-in-law as a reference.
His wife's like, what the hell?
And his mother-in-law's like, oh, Mr. Davidson.
What the hell, Mr. Davidson?
Yeah, they're talking like they're at a South Park. So the judge called the government's conclusion that, was like an easy mistake to make, blah, 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 as nonsense in the court's opinion. The government points to the fact that the Postal Service did not notice the difference between the two faces itself until notified months after producing many millions of stamps, the opinion reads. This is nonsense, which is kind of an interesting defense. They're like, look at the mistake we made.
Yeah.
The fact we made the mistake and didn't even realize it goes to show you how little difference there is.
Yeah, how similar they both
right?
are.
Which is kind of an interesting defense.
Probably the
it's
only
like,
defense they really have,
yeah, their
right?
screw up is the only thing saving themselves.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So the court added that the stamp used entirely of what we consider to have been the original work contributed by Mr. Davidson, and said that the Postal Service offered neither public attribution nor apology. So this is kind of where I get a little almost on the side of the United States Postal Service here. They said the stamp used entirely of what they consider to have been the original work contributed by Mr. Davidson. But it's a replica of something that already existed. So, like, how original can it be?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Like, if I go and paint the Mona Lisa, like a much shittier version, obviously, and it's like a replica.
I don't
Like,
know what? I don't,
and then-
I don't know, because this goes into like copyright stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anything about that.
Like, so
I don't know.
If I paint the Mona Lisa, right, not as good as the original, but not bad,
Yeah.
modern day Leonardo, and somebody takes a picture and puts it on like a
Just
postcard.
made her a little more sexy,
Yeah, just make it a little more sexy.
Give her some nice threaded eyebrows.
Yeah, it's all the rage these days. And somebody takes a picture of it and puts it on a postcard, right?
Yeah.
And then it passes for the original. Then isn't it just kind of like I made like almost a counterfeit? But in this case, I guess it was like a commissioned work and stuff for this guy.
Yeah. It like I don't know. It is pretty crazy that he's kind of taken it, you know what I mean, to court. Just this whole thing. You know what? I'm getting so distracted right now. I can hear the cat like screaming from upstairs. The dog is like down here between us, like snoring and dreaming. It seems like.
This is right up there with the time the skunk.
This is this is war.
skunk
This is
invaded the
Warzone.
cast.
It's so distracting. Normally it's just the two of us here. We don't got to worry about anything. Besides that time Anthony came in here trying to make us drinks.
Yeah, which we know for a fact still doesn't listen.
He still doesn't listen.
We'll tell him if you manage to ever listen enough to catch up to this episode, let us know and we'll buy you a free sub.
We'll get
That's
you
how
one
I
of
know
those
for
Dunkin'
sure.
Donuts, coffees, and pastries.
Yeah, he'll cash in a free sub.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the gist of the details. The Postal Service, like, the decision already came down. They got to pay the fine.
Yeah.
So nice hefty payday for this guy. But I was just kind of like, how original can it be? I honestly didn't even know there was a difference.
I know. He's like making money off of a replica that he's already made money off of.
Yeah.
He's gonna make it again. But apparently they realized their mistake like shortly after, right? And still didn't do anything about it. So like I think that's where they're kind of screwed. Like if after 4 months they realized they were mistaken, they were like, oh crap, and then pulled the ball. That's probably the end of it, right? And the court's kind of like, all right, you know what I mean? They made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
But they printed millions of the stamps by then.
Yeah. But they just kept them going.
I don't know. The Postal Service already on thin ice. They like lose tons of money each year.
How?
I don't know.
They made $70 million off of one stamp in a 4-year span. How are they losing money?
I don't know. I don't run the Postal Service.
Oh,
if I did,
that's stupid.
I would have picked the proper Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Well, speaking of old women. All right, here we go.
All right.
This is the best one we've got. We saved the best for last here. Woman. I'm already screwing this up. Woman, 92, accused of fatally shooting son who wanted to put her in assisted living. In Fountain Hills, Arizona, a 92-year-old Arizona woman has been arrested and accused of fatally shooting her son who wanted to put her in an assisted living facility, authorities said Thursday. Ann Mae Blessing has been booked into jail on suspicion of 1 count apiece of first-degree murder, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and kidnapping.
Who gets kidnapped by a 92-year-old woman?
Blessings was in a wheelchair Tuesday at her initial court appearance, where her bond was set to $500,000, and a lawyer was being appointed to represent her. And here it shows the picture of this woman. Jesus,
100% have to tweet this.
You know what? This may be the YouTube thumbnail.
I think so.
So if you're listening to this, you already know what she looks like.
So hit that thumb up for her.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Sheriff's officials said Blessing's 72-year-old son was found dead Monday at his home in Fountain Hills, about 30 miles northeast of Phoenix. The man's name wasn't immediately released. Blessing had been living with her son and his girlfriend for about 6 months, according to the court records. She told the authorities that she argued with her son Monday morning over the way she had been treated and was upset with his stating that he was going to place her in assisted living. Now, I mean, this woman's 92 years old. Her son is 72. Her son, he's not really in any shape to be taking care of his 92-year-old mother.
Yeah, 72 is pretty old.
He's got his own problems to be dealing with.
There's people who are 72 living in assisted
living.
living.
He's got to go there too. Maybe he's trying to get like a package deal. You know what I mean? A little discount.
2 for 1.
You never know. So, according to the court records, Blessing told detectives she got out 2 handguns that she's had since the 1970s. One she bought at a store, and the other obtained from her late husband. She concealed 2 pistols in the pockets of her robe before confronting her son in the bedroom and firing multiple shots at him with 1 handgun. So go ahead.
It said she was in a wheelchair at the court appearance. Is she normally walking? Does she slowly walk down the hall? This woman is not that mobile, I imagine. She's slowly creeping down the hall, and she's like, oh, you're in for it now.
I'm picturing she rolled in on the wheelchair into the room. She turned the corner. She's got, double loaded pistols in the pockets of her robe. And her son turned around. She, drew him out. Did a little, cowboy spin.
Little revolver ocelot.
Killed him.
There was multiple shots.
Dual
wielding granny.
That's right. So, the gun was dislodged from Blessing's hand after a struggle with her son's girlfriend, who probably is also in the same age range.
I would imagine.
As well as the second weapon. An unidentified woman called authorities, and Blessing was found on a recliner in the home and taken into custody.
So, she rolls down the hallway, shoots her son dead.
And then
the girlfriend kind of wrestles with her, takes the guns away, and then this woman rolls back to her recliner and sits back, and she's yeah, you're trying to put me in a home, son of a bitch.
Kill you.
And she sits back there until the police show up.
Now, John.
Yeah.
I found this article on Twitter, and of course what comes with that is people's comments, obviously, right? So I've got a few here I'd like to share with you. So, first off, I want to get your take on this.
Okay.
How do you feel about this woman? Do you think she deserves to be in jail? What do you think?
Oh, man, it's so tricky because, 92, you're pretty friggin' old. But at the same time, you can't just let people not go to jail because they're old. Otherwise, if I'm young and I got somebody I need to get rid of,
just wait till you're
I'm gonna wheel Granny down there and get her to do the work. Come on, Granny. Get her to go.
I'm your favorite
Pop
grandson.
a cap in their ass. They're done. And then now Granny gets away scot-free because she's old, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. It's man, this woman, her son must have been taking really good care of her for her not to want to go to a home. Or she must have, had some bad juju with homes or something.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll read the first tweet here to you. So, it's just linked to an article from NBC News that just was this article. So, this woman says, poor thing, how are they going to set her bail so high? She's not a threat to the community. She just killed her son.
Dual wielding.
She literally just shot her son and then just sat in a recliner like it was all good. She's a huge threat to the community.
You don't think this woman's going to roll up to Arby's and if they run out of French fries?
Boom!
This woman's got an itchy trigger finger.
Oh, yeah. She's rolling down the street. Drive-bys. You know what I mean?
A semi-automatic.
Exactly.
She got a lot of strength in that trigger finger still.
Yeah, and then another one here from Frito. Oh, a stupid name that is. She's a 92-year-old woman. Her son's wife, 72, was able to wrestle 2 guns away from her. It's safe to say she's not a threat. If she was able to kill her son, she's a threat. Old lady's going to jail. That's it. She's going to die there.
Yeah, just like I said, just because you're old, you don't get a free pass on crimes.
No, she should have just went for the assisted living. You know?
Honestly.
Because now she's going to be in jail.
Yeah, that's much worse. It's like a home where you don't get to leave.
Can you imagine that? You're in, like, let's say you're in jail. You know, you're the age you are now. And
Yeah.
a 92, well, for us to be a 92-year-old man, will like wheels in there like a fresh new inmate.
And you're like, oh man, what are you in here for?
killed my
Double
son.
homicide and kidnapping. What was the kidnapping too?
I don't know.
Did she take like the girlfriend hostage?
I don't know. I don't know what they didn't explain that at all, actually. Why she was charged for kidnapping.
So, a question I would have for these people on Twitter is, at what age do you become not a threat anymore? Like, what's the deadline? Like 75? Like, if this was a 72-year-old and they shot their 52-year-old son, would they be like, they're not a threat, they're just 72?
If you got a gun and you kill someone, you're a threat until you die. That's it. Like,
Yeah, this woman, she took dual pistols and concealed them in the pockets of a rope.
oh,
Like, she was out to kill.
Can you imagine that? You know?
Like, it's one thing when your parents serve you all those eviction letters to get out of the house. It's another thing when they roll down the hall,
and shoot you.
pop out double pistols, and kill you.
Well, you know what? In fairness, if that guy from that story who got evicted from his own
Yeah.
house, if he stuck around till he was 72, this may have been the outcome in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm putting you into assisted living, Mom. You son of a bitch. You stay here in my house this whole time, your whole life till you're 72. You put me in assisted living. Poof!
that was the whole plan.
Like, can't blame her, right?
That was the whole plan.
Again, there's maybe more to this story that we don't know either, right?
It was the long con. He waited it out for 72 long years, and he's like, now's my moment to strike. She's
now this
looking
house
weak.
is mine.
And she's like, I'm getting your daddy's old handgun out to Chesterfield, rolling down the hall.
He would want me to do this.
He'd want me to do this.
That's a funny one.
Yeah, it's a pretty hefty bail for a lady that old, though. But
If
still,
$500,000, pretty insane.
but like,
And like her son's dead now, so where's she gonna get this money from, right?
yeah, and like, is she really a threat to flee? How far can this woman go?
Yeah, probably not. But
Between now and the court date, she could be like wheeling at full speed. She's only getting a couple miles down the road.
I'm curious to see where that all goes. We'll try our best to track that one. We say that with a lot
Yeah.
of things, but
I'm surprised this lady didn't like break her hand firing a gun.
yeah, I know. I'm surprised she was able to like squeeze the trigger and pull it.
And like, she showed no remorse. She just went right back to the recliner.
No,
The whole story
and she
is
was
just
so
insane.
sad sitting on her recliner. It's like no, she just went and sat there, probably turned on CP24 and just watched it over and over. It was all new to her every half hour.
Oh damn, it's gonna be hot this week. And then 35 minutes later, oh damn, it's gonna be hot this week.
That's right.
And then she wheels down the hall. Oh Jeremy, oh damn, I forgot.
All right,
Ay.
all right, John. We got an email here. Do we not?
We got a listener email.
I'll let you take it away. Go ahead.
All right, email from a listener. They write in and say, "What's up, guys?"
Whoa, John. What's the subject?
Oh, Dan, you're pulling a John here.
Yeah, I gotcha.
The subject is "Wind beneath my chicken wings." Wings with chicken in brackets.
Interesting title.
Interesting title. This person must love chicken wings. Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Vegans. That's who. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
So, what's up, guys? Lots of love from a longtime listener, first-time emailer. See, this is what I love to see. People listen to the show, having a nice time, writing in. I know there's other people out there who haven't written in, and they've probably got lots of nice things to say about the show.
Yeah.
So, feel free to shower us with compliments, but you don't get free coffee and pastries here.
No.
Anyways, lots of love from a longtime listener, first-time emailer. You guys are doing some hilarious and serious things, touching on some tough topics, while keeping the humor alive.
This guy knows what
This
it's
guy
all
knows.
about.
He knows what's up.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd really love to know a little more about the rebel side of the stuffs.
Oh, yeah.
What's the most dangerous thing you've ever done? / what's the worst run-in with the law you've ever had?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's a little tough. I mean, I know I sound like particularly badass and like, I wouldn't want to get on John's bad side. Like maybe he's got dual pistols in his robes, but
You know, this is actually a great email.
Yeah,
after that article, I didn't
one.
even catch that. This is a good one. John, your tranny game is off the charts.
And by tranny, you mean transition.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
2018, Dan. Come on. Can't just be assuming.
Okay. So, what's the most dangerous thing you've ever done? Actually, I have a story that will probably cover both of us because you were there for this.
Yes.
It's not so much, it wasn't necessarily dangerous for us, but looking back at it, the amount of trouble we probably could have got in.
The type of thing that when I have kids, I'll smack them upside the head.
Oh,
say,
yeah.
What are
yeah.
you, stupid?
It was a super dangerous thing we did and could have gotten in a lot of trouble. So, I'll be getting myself into even more trouble once, some people hear about the story. But
ScruffCast@gmail.com. You got beef? Right in.
yeah, don't talk to me in person about it. So we were, 17 or 18 years old?
Yeah, I'd say
So it was me, you, our previous guest, Anthony, and another friend of ours. We drove to pick him up from somewhere.
Yeah.
And we thought it would be really funny. So my dad had a pickup truck at the time. And the pickup truck had the tunnel cover that goes over the bed of the truck.
Yep.
And we thought it'd be hilarious if we put Anthony and our other friend in the bed of the truck as we were driving, and then as we stopped at lights, had them screaming help, help, let us out of here, help,
As if we've trapped them in the back.
as if we kidnapped them, right?
Like pulling up next to other cars at red lights and everything.
Yeah, we just thought it was oh, this is so funny, look at us, right? And now luckily there was no one looking out for those two boys in the pickup truck.
Thank
No
goodness.
heroes
And,
out on the road.
We even had we called them right on our phone while
Yeah,
they're
we'd
in
be
the
like,
back. We're
okay, here we
we
go.
stopped all right here, guys. Freak out.
Oh, this guy's got his window down, quickly do
Yeah.
it. And nobody did anything. So luckily it was harmless. But
On the other hand, though, what if there was some nefarious stuff going on and people actually needed help?
that's
There's no
what I
help.
mean,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. It could have been serious, but luckily for us, nothing bad happened. But that was pretty stupid looking back at it now.
And it was a fairly long drive. We're talking 15, 20 minutes probably.
Oh yeah. It was a good
little ways.
trek. Yeah.
Yeah, that was... Thankfully, it didn't result in a run-in with the law, but that was pretty stupid.
No. But speaking of runs with the law, John, do you have anything? Or
I've lived a relatively crime-free life. So I can't really think of any relative run-ins with the law. I got a speeding ticket one time.
Besides just the standard.
Yeah, one time I
stuff.
got a speeding ticket, and they're like, "Oh, but your car's so cool, I'll let you off the hook." And I said, "Oh, thanks." Officer."
Yeah, that's what happened.
That's definitely what they said about my 1991 Acura Integra at the time. No, not really many major run-ins with the law. I've had my whole criminal career go without getting in any trouble, so I can't out myself of my crimes here. What about
Right,
you?
of course.
What about you, Dan?
I've got one. It turns out we didn't get in trouble or anything, and it was kind of a misunderstanding in the end. But so this was, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago or so. We got really into playing airsoft, BB guns, and we would go to places and shoot each other, pretty much. So one day I had all the guns in my car, and me and a friend were at work, and our boss asked us to just hang around for a bit till he got back from going somewhere. So we say, yeah, sure, no problem. So we were just outside or whatever, and I said to him, I was like, oh, I got all the guns in my car. So we're like, okay, that's great. So there was we sold pumpkins and stuff like that, right? So we had empty bins of the old ones. Mm-hmm. So we're like, oh, let's get the BB guns out. Let's just shoot these pumpkins, right? Just hang out here. So the place we work at is on a main road. So we're sitting at a picnic bench, kind of just off the road, and we're just kind of shooting these guns. And these guns look real. That's the thing. It's not they have orange caps on them. They look fairly real. These guns, all the guns did. So we're shooting. So I'm kind of facing the road, and I see this cargo van drive by. Right, drives by, and then I see it stop, kind of past our driveway, and then turn back around and come into the parking lot. So I'm kind of uh-oh. You know what I mean? Who is this?
Oh.
So I say to my buddy, I'm like, hey, put the gun down, put the gun down, put the gun down. So he puts the gun down. So two cops, undercover, all they had was just vests on. They had vests that said police.
Yeah.
And then, they had, the holster and everything, right? So they jump out of the car, pull their guns on us,
Oh, geez.
And we like, by this point, like, our hands are up, like, no, they're just BB guns. We swear they're just BB guns. They're just BB guns. So then, like, they kind of realize, like, oh, okay, so they kind of come over and they check them out, and they're kind of like, oh, okay. So then one guy takes our licenses, goes and checks us out, I guess, and like, we haven't, gotten into trouble before, so there was no real issues. And the other guy was just kind of looking at the guns and being like, oh, man, like, these things look really real. Like, you guys got to watch out, kind of thing. We're like, oh, geez, yeah, like. So they just came back, gave us a license back, and they're just kind of like, just probably don't shoot them out in the open. That was kind of it, right?
Fair enough.
And we're like, yeah, no, of course, like, fair enough. But that was it. So they gave us no trouble in the end. But that was That was probably the closest run-in with a law I've ever had. And like I said, it was kind of, I guess, a miscommunication. But
oh, Dan, such
us
a badass.
also still being idiots. What can I say?
Relatively stable, crime-free lives for the Scruffs here.
Yeah, we're good people.
So the listener goes on to say, and for a question to ponder, if you're still into taking requests now. We're always into taking requests.
Yeah.
If you're still into taking requests, now that you're basically worldwide phenoms. We are. This is a 2-parter.
Oh, exciting.
Love this question.
Wait, everybody listen. This is your question to ponder for next week.
If you don't write in to scruffcast@gmail.com with your answer for this question to ponder by next week's episode, I'm going to be really disappointed in you guys. I'm going to give it a shitty thumbnail.
All right. Question to ponder, go.
2-parter question. If you could go back in time with full knowledge of one thing/field, what knowledge would it be, and what time would you go back to? Love from Browntown. Sent from my iPhone.
All right.
Great question. I've already got a good one cooked up, but you guys got to wait till next week.
If you can go back in time with full knowledge of one thing/field, what knowledge would it be, and what time would you go back to? Okay. Now, I kind of have a question here.
Yes.
Do they have to relate at all?
It's up to you. Not necessarily.
Like, at what time would you go back to? Just if you can go back to any time in history? Could that be different from the knowledge or one thing you've learned? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of view it as you're taking something that's happened after that and then going back. Or I guess not. So you could be like, all of a sudden I'm like a master of like, sword fighting, and then you could go back to like the time of knights, and then you could be like a badass knight.
Oh.
Right?
Okay. If you go back in time with full knowledge of one thing/field, what knowledge would it be?
Yeah, or maybe it could be like something like after the fact, right? Like you're actually taking like future knowledge back. I have no idea.
Yeah, like you can go back and stop 9/11.
Yeah, or, well...
Oh, that would have been a good one!
You don't need all this knowledge. You could just be Mark Wahlberg.
That is true. And with that is the end of episode 28 of the ScruffCast. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next week.
As I'm watching her go all out, thinking this, oh damn that bad thing. I can tell you're really good at distracting.